What's going on, y'all? I be your boy, the Global Zoe, and I'm with the gang.
Eric Biddines.
Drego Mill.
And today, we got a special invited guest, the one and only. Some people call him Clarence. Some people call him Mr. C. Or you might know him as CRB Media Plus. He is in the building. Clarence, what's going on?
Right, what's going on? What's going on?
Hey, not much, man. Mr. C, Clarence, which name do you prefer?
It's all about exposure. You need the exposure. You gotta touch the streets. You need that street credibility. You need that promotion. And that's what exposure provides for the people.
What made that makes him side out here MIA, grinding like I always do. Watching exposure.
Getting hit in the head with that exposure. You know what it is, them down dogs, Raylo, #1 DJs, #1 promoters for show from Palm Beach. It's exposed. It's wide open now.
Y'all check it out, you know what I'm saying? Keep it locked all over Florida.
And you are watching Exposure.
I mean, Mr. C, I've grown fond of Mr. C.
Okay.
Most people call me by Mr. C. It
Mr.
doesn't
C.
matter.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever you know me by, as long as you don't call me outside of my name, I'm good with it.
Good. Good. How you feeling today?
I'm doing quite well. I'm quite frankly, I'm feeling very blessed.
Good.
Good. And I'm honored to be invited to, to what you all are presenting now. I see you guys are, this thing is taking off.
I appreciate it.
It's already caught my eye.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We've been just putting in the work, and it's interesting that a lot of people who sat in the seat that you're in also has mentioned you. So it was kind of like makes perfect sense to actually even have you on, so we can get some of the backstory and see where you are now. So as I talk about, when I think about CRB Media Plus, I think about CD duplication, I think about duplicators, I think about fixing computers, whether it's a Mac or Windows. You think about thumb drives. You think about T-shirts. You talk about flyers. Did I forget anything? T-shirts. Did I say T-shirts?
Yeah.
Okay.
T-shirts.
T-shirts.
Yeah. We're covering all the printing aspects.
Okay.
Right now, if it needs to be printed, we can do it. A lot of people, going back to the CD duplication, that's what we were pretty much known from. The neighborhood people around Riviera Beach, they knew us as computer repair, and quite frankly, amongst other things that we were doing. I don't know if we want to mention that.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, but for the most part, when I started the CRB, actually, we were under C. Blackmon Video Express Corp. So my main thing was trying to, I wanted to do a DVD store, a neighborhood DVD store.
Okay.
At the time, DVDs were booming. Renting DVDs were just one of the things, blockbusters. But there was, room for the neighborhood DVD rental. So after doing some investigation, and I started to go a different way. And I got into computers back in 1998. I don't know, actually it was 97 during the 98 craze.
Okay.
So if you were around computers during that time, a lot of people didn't even, not a lot of people didn't have computers in their home.
Right.
During 98 transition, people started getting computers in their home. So, at the time, I didn't really know much about computers at the time, but it was just something that intrigued me. So after buying one, I remember, here's the story here. I remember my wife, I have 7 kids. She wanted a computer for the kids. And I was like, we don't really need a computer. At the time, they were really expensive. I was working, pretty much full-time, part-time job. And, it was just tough taking care of, that many kids and just making sure things were being met. And
Can imagine.
I was just totally against the computer. But, wifey wants it, she gets it,
Hey, smart man.
And, we ended up getting it, and for roughly 2 weeks, it sat in the box, and I said, well, let me figure this thing out before we open it. Mind you, computers were just a mystery. If you didn't work on one in the school, you really didn't know anything much about a computer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened the box. I went to reading, and the more I understood, the more I began to try to understand what made it work. So that's pretty much how I got into computers, trying to figure out the ins and outs, the mechanical aspects of it. And I remember at that time, eBay was starting to get, it was actually already established, but eBay was the go-to place for just about everything you wanted. So lo and behold, as I began to understand computers better, I would buy fixer-ups, and I would buy one, fix it up, and, try to sell it, hustle it the best way I could.
Right. Wait, how did you just brush past the skill of learning how to fix up
just reading.
Oh, okay.
Just reading. You'd be amazed what reading and getting into the forums. So if you had a problem, mainly software, it got to the point I would call tech support, and they didn't know any more than I did.
Wow.
So I was like, this is a waste of time. 1-800 numbers, stay online for the next 30 minutes to an hour. You don't get the answers, so you read. You get into you look at the forums, type in the problem you're having, and you find a list of people having the same problems. Right. Back then, forums were still is pretty big.
Yeah.
But you get into it and you start reading the forums, put in your input. And it was amazing, the information that I gathered, and I just began to retain it. And it was just intriguing. It was just like, any other thing you're trying to learn, and you become more interested in learning and understanding. And that's just the way it happened. I'm self-taught, basically.
So did you have a 9-to-5 before you picked up? You bought the computer for the house, so you had a 9-to-5?
Oh, yeah. I was a cook at Denny's. I worked for Denny's, and I was working as a part-time counselor for parent and child center.
Okay.
I worked in domestic violence. I still work in domestic violence. I've been working in domestic violence roughly since 1995. 1995, I've been teaching and counseling in domestic violence and anger management.
What made you pick that up? Is that something?
Yeah, that's just through the history of my life, drug abuse, so forth.
Okay.
Getting off to a rough start in my life.
Okay.
Coming out of high school, middle school and high school, I was very musically inclined. I played the horn, and I could have went to any school in America, and it wouldn't have mattered. Berkeley, Juilliard, any university. I was pretty much just that good, and life got up to me, having a good set of friends, the valedictorian and the salutatorian, and the top, 1-2% of your class, and then, the guys that, got down and did what they had to do.
Right.
I, straddled that fence.
Yeah.
And it just caught up with me, and going through a series of up and downs and drug addiction, even before I even got out of high school. I was never on the streets. So I don't want to put that, I don't have any street cred.
Right.
But being on the streets in the struggle of, drugs and alcohol, on that aspect, it was tough.
Wow.
And coming off that, I was able to, get into the drug abuse and alcoholic counseling, as well as domestic violence and anger management, which, I found that going through that program helped me develop the type of person that I am today.
Awesome.
That's really good.
And be able to help people even to this very day. Which that's a whole nother chapter.
And look at that. That's not something I'm sure you ain't throwing it out there, but
Right.
we had no
Yeah.
idea.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
not something
didn't.
anybody
Yeah,
knew.
didn't. Yeah.
Right. We see you today, and in other eyes, they see a successful man, a businessman, doing this thing, raising the family, and knowing that you can overcome to get to where you are now. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's it. That's a story.
Yeah.
That's a story.
Awesome.
But if you're ever arrested for domestic violence, you may get me in the class.
Okay.
I'll be your teacher.
All right.
I work with two different
Hopefully, we never see you.
I work with a program called Knowledge is Power.
Okay.
And I work with TLC counseling. Today we do anger management and domestic violence classes.
Now, your knowledge is power course. It's a course.
That's a program.
It's a program. Do you have to be in trouble to get involved in that?
Put it like this. 98% of our clients are in trouble for something or another. When it comes to domestic violence and anger management, and if you just by chance, if you don't have anything pending, that means you probably have been either given an ultimatum to take a course. Something has transpired in your life where you've established, there's been some type of consequence. Can it be voluntary? Yes, it can. But over the years, I found that many people are not in there voluntarily. It's usually some impact, from some type of relationship or, something happening on the job. We get anger management cases where something's going on in the community or on the job. Even going back further, I work with the adolescents and for Department of Juvenile Justice, with middle school kids, high school kids, where they were, just in trouble in school. Diversionary programs, you get, the benefit of coming through a 12-week program like our program, getting some life skills, going over some anger management issues and so forth, and graduating and hopefully overcoming, And when it came to boundaries intervention program, typically those are generally the cases where police came out, you were arrested, and you were given an opportunity for diversionary 24-week program in which you were coming to a program like ours, where you're given that 6-month program. And once you complete that program, then chances are they'll remove it from your record. Wouldn't be counted as a conviction, so to speak.
Is there a case that's more common, like a certain dispute that happens that's more common that comes across your way that we could avoid? Like, is there something that's like, hey, it was just easy as maybe walking away or not saying?
Well, this is a very in-depth conversation because it's not one thing. When it comes to domestic violence, for example, domestic violence is not about anger management. That's a misconception. Most domestic violence is about belief systems. So it's based on the way you're raised, what you were taught. It's inherently ingrained in who you are, what you think right versus wrong, good versus bad. We're talking about morals. We're talking about values. Morals and values sort of conflict with one another.
Okay.
For example, good versus bad, right versus wrong. Right versus wrong is morals. So quite often, values conflict with morals. For example, you may know something is wrong to do, but at the time, you may feel like it's better for you to do it. Your value at the time says, forget what my morals say about it. What I'm valuing at this time is the opportunity to either say or do something that I know I will regret, but at the time, this is serving for me as a benefit.
Gotcha.
So when you begin to challenge yourself to look deeper inside, you have to begin to challenge your belief systems in terms of what you have established your wrong versus right, and challenging also your values, your good versus bad, and allowing those to align. And when they don't align, then you end up with getting involved in serious issues, making the wrong choices at the time. So we don't do anything that our belief system don't support. So when someone say I snapped, I lost it, I say bullshit. There's no such thing as snapping and losing it. That means at some point in your life you've established it as a choice. It may be a last resort, but it's not something where I snapped, which gives the impression that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any control of what I was doing. We're always in control because nothing happens without a thought. Everything is established is based on a thought. So unless we're talking about reflex, and we're talking about involuntary reflex, and that's something that's medical, that's scientific, but not our behaviors. Our choices are not based on some type of involuntary action. It's a behavior that is a choice. And things, just because it happens quick, someone says something bad to you and punch them in the mouth, that happens within a quick second. You're on the ground, you're fighting. Of course that happened fast, but you didn't snap. That was a choice that you established at some point in your life. Someone got to say one more word to me. Someone called me out of my name, and I'm gonna give them the business. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's an established belief. So when it's challenged that way, it gives your belief system that giving you the permission to do that. That has nothing to do with anger.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, could those be conditioned?
Yeah, it's conditioning, yes. It's conditioning. So you got to think that repetition, and you guys are artists, so repetition becomes a multiple skill, okay? Anything you do over and over, you get good at it.
Right.
So whether it's good or bad,
you still good at it.
You're still good at it. Yeah, we've gotten good at doing some really fucked up things in our life. Making bad choices becomes fundamental to what we do in our lives.
Right.
Why we can't get it right? Because we haven't challenged ourselves enough to say, you know what, enough is enough, and start from the ground up and start reestablishing healthier patterns and behaviors. Again, from thought. When I think something, I think it in existence. So in order for me to change that, I have to monitor my thoughts. I have to be more cognizant of what I'm thinking, not just what I'm thinking, but why I'm thinking it. Okay.
Gotcha.
So, and I mean,
you're on it. I mean, there's a bodybuilder I follow named Kai Green. He always says his saying is thought become things. And the more I've been following them, I really been thinking that way too. I'm always, I try to think more positive and only take in more positive, just because I feel like you will act on whether it's a negative or whatever you're thinking. You will eventually either act on it or looking for it.
You're going to look at it. Now, thoughts drive feelings, emotions. So the more you think, I don't believe in negative feelings, negative emotions. Some psychologists and counselors, they swear by it. There's negative thoughts, in other words, negative self-talk. The more you feed yourself negative information, the more the emotion drives towards that thought process.
Correct.
So you can be disappointed about something that just happened to you in life, and then now you start dwelling on it. You started feeding it more energy. Right. Now before the end of the day, you're pissed. Now your responses is based on not just what happened to you earlier that day, but a culmination of what happened to you throughout the day. But because your emotions were escalating, so you left out the house, someone cut you off, you're pissed about that. You were already pissed before you left the house. You got a bad phone call. Now you're pissed, and now someone, your job is asking you to do something that you're not or blamed you for something you didn't do. So it's a combination of your totality of your whole day. Now you feel like you don't have any control of what you're saying and doing, which is
it's just like the same thing that happened over the news. I don't know if you heard it with the guy and the kid's mother. Mm-hmm. He just punched the lady. He said if you say something one more time, I don't want to say snap, but yeah, he warned her and said, hey, you say something one more time.
It was ingrained in his belief.
Right.
I mean,
talking about Chicago?
Yeah, the Chicago situation.
Right, in Chicago. Yeah. That had nothing to do with anger. Anger is blamed for everything that bad goes wrong in our lives, and that's not true. Anger is one of the most healthier emotions that you're gonna have. It's an identity emotion. It alerts you what's good and bad in your life. It allows you to establish boundaries for yourself. People that don't allow themselves to absorb their anger, then they sort of become go for anything, lighthearted. And then it's not that they don't feel it, is that they stuff it, they don't, and that doesn't mean you don't feel it because you're stuffing it. You're not addressing it, you're not talking about it. Hey, can I borrow your car? Hell no, you can't borrow my car. Instead of me giving you the key, let this bitch call about it. Right. What is he going to do with my car? All the time, I should have said no. Man. So anger is what allows you to have healthy boundaries in your life, and it establishes you to alert you to things that are good or bad in your life. Think people that mistreat you, for example. Yeah. Take advantage of you, for example. Anger is that feeling that allows you to know that this is not right. Something is not right that's going on. So if you're not feeling that, if you're sort of stuffing it, then pretty soon it's going to build. Right. So it's not anger that causes us to do things. It's our belief system and our thought process, along with our emotions and our escalation, and not understanding and have the skill set in responding in a way at an elevated emotion. So I can respond. I can be furious and respond still and tell you that I'm furious because this is happening and not curse you out. I don't have to throw up my hands. I don't have to point. I don't have to call you all type of efforts and bitches and this and that. I don't have to respond, but I can tell you how furious and disappointed I am based on whatever the situation is, because I have the skill set in dealing with that emotion versus the person that, based on what they know about being angry, establish a whole different other behavior pattern.
And did I miss it? Did you ask if we could attend the class? Do you have to be in trouble?
Yeah, because it feels as though it would be a greater benefit to communities to have these courses before you get in trouble.
Right.
And you seeing most of them are in trouble.
Like, man.
So at first I was like, I hope we never see you we run into that. But then I'm like, no, I would like my kids to go to something like this without them having to be in trouble before they realize. Just like it's people that learned most of their knowledge once they went to prison. Right. And they go in there and then but then you come out, you're like, well, where's all that sourcing being fed to us in the community? Because you talking all this stuff. My next question was going to be, like, how did you, after knowing all this, how did you feel hearing the music you started observing also being digested into people?
Well, the culture is what the culture is. Your environment is what your environment is. And the art of rap and hip hop and what have you, it's only telling the story of what you're experiencing and what you're seeing. Or telling the story about whatever the environment that that you've seen or experienced or heard about. Too often what's happening in the music is people are not actually experiencing that, and they're just talking about the subject matter because it's, sounds good. But the reality is that because you're experiencing that, that doesn't make you hopeless to understanding how to deal with issues in your life. Too often, we rate people based on, the way they were raised, and that doesn't determine your success or you're not, because you were raised with, one parent or in a foster home, or with, 10 different siblings with, sharing, the same bathroom and even the same clothes. That doesn't make you less successful as a person that, that grew up with the wherewithal to have everything. It's just a story of, I love hip hop. I love rap. I love everything about it, but then there's a line that you have to understand. Listening to it and absorbing it and knowing how to separate it from now your life in terms of making choices. Okay, I hear and see what the possibilities are in terms of making the bad choice. So I know what that side looks like. I know what making bad choices look like. Walking around with guns, getting in fights, hanging out with clubs. I don't do clubs anymore. I stopped drinking many years ago. Along with, I'm 30 plus years now sober.
Oh, congrats!
Congratulations on that. Nice.
Actually, 1992. I got sober in 92. So right now, this is 31 years for me. So when I gave up that life, I didn't give up having fun. I didn't give up hip hop.
Right.
I just gave up, certain aspect of that life that allows me to lead to, a dangerous path, to now overindulging myself into a life of crime and choices that I don't want to be involved in. And, definitely unhealthy.
And do you feel that because what you went through, do you feel like it's, I want to say maybe you're more relatable, or in the field that you're in, you're like, can someone do what you do, you think, as effectively if they didn't experience what you experienced?
I don't think so. Because I in the music world, people call me Mr. C, and out of a sign of respect, and people have called me Pop, old timer, but I'm young. I'm pretty young. I'm 53. I'm 53 years old.
Oh yeah.
But the experience that I've had is the experience of a 70-year-old. Before I was on, I was on drugs before I turned 17. And this goes back before. We're talking about 80s. I was on drugs in the 80s, and smoking marijuana at 12, 11, 12 years old. So I don't know what they got now, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I was doing all that stuff as a young boy, growing up. And
Can I ask why? Like, that's a young age to be, around
that's
those kind of drugs.
That's a whole nother story.
Oh, okay.
But the reality is, my older cousins kept me.
Okay.
Okay. So in having that, while my mom went to work, my older cousins kept me. So I was shooting guns in Pampas. These are the stories I've heard.
Okay.
The worst whooping I got from my mom is, shitting in my diaper when I was out shooting guns in my Pampas. If I could shoot guns and, then I can say I got to go to the bathroom. That's
hey, that's a story. That's a story right there. I can just see him in the diaper.
Yeah.
But being raised with older cousins, I got exposed to these things when I was early on. But I didn't. Like I say, I was. I didn't get on the wrong road early on. I started when I was about 16. When I was 16 years old, I experienced a death. My oldest cousin died, and I was already doing weed, smoking weed, but I was doing what I needed to do in school and so forth. Drinking, but then I just went a whole nother path. I started doing more of it, and doing more of it, and got to the point where I just didn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Before I turned 17, that year I was exposed to cocaine. Cocaine took me in a whole nother direction in my life. So from then. So from 17 to 22, I experienced a whirlwind of various things in my life. I was arrested 32 times.
Whoa.
I got over 34 charges in my life. I was at one time considered a habitual criminal. So, you asked me how and why I got into the field. The part of this is that backstory of the why.
Okay. Okay.
So, which, in retrospect, I wish I had never went down that course, but it's also helped me develop in having a mindset that I don't know if I would have having not that experience.
Correct.
Understood.
I can't rap a lick, but I lived a life.
You know what's good. I'm sure you got it here.
I've been in every little drug hole from Lake Worth to Riviera Beach, when Stony Brook was really Stony Brook.
I remember. I heard about that.
When Rosemary was Rosemary. All the little holes when East Avenue, S Avenue, when they were real jumping, I was in it. When the White Houses were the White Houses.
You had to go to everyone?
Well, I lived in, we lived in the White Houses for a short time, me and my family. I was, it goes back into 89-ish, around that time. 89, 90. 89, 90, I was in the White House. I stayed in the White House about a good year.
Okay.
Downtown project.
And you weren't married and had kids between the 17 and 22. This is after.
I met my wife when I was 19. We've been together since I was 19.
Wow.
So just take that, and that's the other portion of the domestic violence and anger management portion of it.
Okay.
So I was 19 when I was turning 19, on verge of turning. Well, I just turned 19 when I met my wife. So I was on a sober tip.
Okay.
Doing, if you're on drugs or established drinking, you go through a series of relapses. So I was getting sober at the time, and I met her when I was sober. And once I met her, I was sober maybe about 3 or 4 months after that, and lo and behold, I was back off to the races. She stuck by me, That's a conversation a longer conversation.
Yeah. But no, that's amazing.
She stuck by me.
That's amazing.
And we end up from during that time, 89, 90, 91, 92. I got sober in 92, and then even after I got sober, I still was very sick. It's a guy that's just getting sober, didn't know the first thing about really having how to have a family or be a family man.
Yeah.
You know, so I was in training. I was sober in training, and I took that same mentality, what it is to be a man. You know, that same type of mentality where you go, okay, I'm the man now. I'm the man. I'm sober. You know, this is where it's going down. And quite frankly, that whole attitude, that think like a man, act like a man syndrome is what established a lot of domestic violence in households. So what's your true idea of what it is to be a man? You know, and that comes along with what we call male privilege. That comes along with a bunch of different belief systems that embeds that if you have that belief system, then pretty soon what's going to happen is, bitch, you know, all these, you know, there's a number of series of things that can happen.
It's ugly.
You know, so that happened, and lo and behold, I got arrested in '93. First time I had been arrested was sober.
Damn.
Yeah. Before all those charges I told you about, that was during my time going through drugs, and most of which it was theft related, burglary, armed robbery, strong armed robbery. But I went to jail on a simple burial, sober, and it was a different experience for me. Like, damn, I'm in jail. Fuck this shit. This shit about.
You got any siblings?
Yeah.
You got any siblings, brothers or sisters?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's
they were not around. I mean,
I got one brother.
Okay.
That I grew up with.
Okay.
And he went to prison when I was 12. He was robbery, armed robbery, and second-degree murder. Then I have another set of siblings that I didn't grow up with. Matter of fact, I found them when I was introduced to domestic violence, and I started teaching, and I did an article in the paper, and one of my siblings seen the article, and then they contacted the Post to try to find out, if they would give them my contact information. So I was reunited with a set of siblings I had never met.
Okay.
That was on my dad's side.
Oh, okay.
So from there, we established a relationship, and there's a whole about 7 of us on that side.
Okay.
I hate to go back, but White House, what is that?
That's 7th Street.
Oh,
7th Street in Australia.
That's some Palm Beach lingo.
Yeah.
I figured it was something like that. I didn't know.
White Houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
7th Street, 7th Street in Australia, that project there.
Okay.
You got Dunbar Village.
Yeah, okay.
You guys are, it's just an area project.
Okay.
Area,
Okay.
7th Street.
So
7th Street project.
You got something?
No, I didn't know where you was going. I want you to be able to get
I
back
know
on track.
We're in a different area.
No.
Yeah.
But it builds up.
It's all good.
It builds up to
I guess I'm hearing the backstory and all you've been through. So where does CRB Media? Because when I met you in the location, you're on Australian and Blue Heron.
I was on Australian, and this is what coming up. I've always thought that if I could, I was cooking. And doing part-time as a counselor, and I always wanted my own business.
Okay.
So as a cook for Denny's, I started a business. Started knife sharpening service.
Is this after the computer? After you learned?
Well, this is during that same time.
Okay.
Because I hadn't did anything with computers other than doing friends and family, a couple of things on eBay, so it wasn't no big deal.
Okay.
But I started this knife sharpening service where because at the time I was a cook, and guy came in, manager wasn't there that day. They got me to sign the ticket. I forget what the price was, but I think it was like $80 or something. I was like, fuck, $80 for sharpening knives or something. There was something right near that figure. I said, I can do this shit. But I didn't know it was for the month at the time.
Yeah.
But when I started investigating, I said, well, all I need to do is just get some knives. You know, I started looking at the knives and the equipment to get it. So I went to they liked me. I was one of the certified trainers that, I went around to different stores, or people came to the store, I did the training. And I asked the district leader, okay, if I get these knives, would y'all get the service for me? And they said, oh yeah, sure. So I bought the knives with a income tax check. The power of an income tax.
Hey, that was at advance.
I bought the knives with an income tax check. I bought the sharpener, and I started doing their knives. And you would go in, you switch them out. You buy enough so they have a set. You keep a set, and then you switch them out and go around. And then my mom worked for the school board. She said, son, she was a cook, so she said, we always need sharp knives. You ought to go out to the school. And sure enough, I went out there, put on a nice tie, went to the school board, and they said, oh yeah, we've been looking for someone like this. So they allowed me to come get their contract to sharpen knives at the Palm Beach County School Board. And I think it was like 130-some schools at the time.
Oh, that's a
where
lot.
I could go around to any school as long as they wanted me to the service.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I can go in and sharpen the service. So I started, I'm cooking, I'm counseling, and, amongst other things. So I took 2 days, my 2 off days, and I went down around all the schools, and I covered as many schools as I could. And it was great, and then I ended up getting sick, and that's that went south.
Okay.
But I did that successfully for 2 years. But once I left I went through a sickness at the time, and I was down for about 8 months. Sort of lost it. I couldn't get anyone to pick up that. So when I came back, my mind was somewhat different, you know. And I started looking into computers more so again. And when it came around again, I started looking at this DVD thing. But we're talking 90. We're already in 2003, 2004. Started looking at doing DVD store, and that started sort of developing. I was able to save some money and so forth, and I got in. Something else happened where I was able to get a location. So I say, well, we'll start here. We'll start doing computer stuff at the time. Now this is the story of how CRB Media was birthed. Okay. So we got the store on Australia, and that was, I figured, okay, I'm not going to do the DVD rental, but at this point, okay, I could do computers. So we started doing the computers, and I remember one of the couple guys that befriended when I was, doing some things. Bottom line, I was selling CDs not CDs. I was selling DVDs on the streets. So I met a few people, and when I got the store, so when they start coming around, I figured, okay, well, if I can bring the supplies here in Palm Beach from Fort Lauderdale, people can start buying supplies from me. Exactly. I can do computers. I can sell supplies. I can do computers. Now, I'm not even thinking about doing CDs at this time. CDs was just, I hadn't even considered. So a couple of guys said, well, see, you're here. Why don't you just duplicate some CDs for us? Because at the time they was, hustling their own music.
Right. Mm-hmm. So rappers.
What year this is? What year this is?
We're talking 2005,
Okay.
at the time. So 2005, I got the store.
Yeah.
Okay. In 2005, there was a core group of guys that I had already knew that were out there hustling their CDs, their music. And at the time, DVD, the movie stuff was banging. You know,
we want to get on that on the back end.
That was it.
We gonna
that one there got to be off camera.
Oh.
yeah.
That's got to be off camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we had gotten where we would see each other at certain locations. Around at the at one of these stores, what I'm talking about, 7-Eleven parking lot, service station, whatever. So finally, I got a store, and I figured if I could sell the DVDs and the CD supplies, along with doing computer work, then that would be a start.
Yeah.
And sure enough, and then a couple guys said, "Well, can't you just burn some CDs for us?" I said, "Okay, fine." And I started burning CDs, and they'd come and get 50 or 100. And I started researching the duplicators at the time because I wanted to find out what it would cost. They started circulating and try to figure out how many I can do at one time, because these guys, they were hustling their CDs pretty good, going out to the flea markets. Before you know it, they were running through 50 to 100 CDs.
I feel like I know them names right there. Once you say the flea market, it was
2005.
You had the top 5 artists from the flea market who were very popular and was, I would say, making a living.
Making a pretty good living.
Yeah, right.
Right at the flea market. And matter of fact, they kept me in great spirits. Like, this is really working.
Yeah.
I'm making money, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm being busy. But on the same thing, I was starting to research how to really do it on a bigger scale. And I went down to Fort Lauderdale and tried, and they were doing something totally different than what I was doing. They were actually printing on the disc. So when I seen that, I was like, damn, this is interesting here. I can get the machines and I can start printing the information on the disc. So I figured out how much money I need, and I got my first few duplicators to start doing the CD stuff. And I got one printer. I started doing that, and sure enough, it started working. And the guys, the flea market guys, they kept me busy.
Yeah.
And the more and more I started looking at that side, the more I got more contacts. So people were starting to, artists were starting to tell other artists to come here to get your CDs done.
It spread all the way to Delray direction.
And this was well before he was that. Because by the time it got out popular, I was pretty established. By the time most of you guys knew me, I was well established. I had enough stuff in place. But as it grew, I was trying to figure out how to really brand the place, because I didn't want to be I wanted to be more than just a place that you came to do CDs from. Because at the time it was more or less like let me just say it plain. I didn't want to be roped off by the police because I was the guy in the neighborhood doing CDs.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was thinking, well, let's figure out how to brand this thing. So I started looking at sponsorships. So somebody told me, okay, you ought to advertise on X102. So I started getting advertisement on X102, and that's how I met DJ Daddy Fats. And when we met each other, he invited me to the function he had downtown, and that really gave me legitimacy in terms of the company. I wasn't some guy doing doing CDs. It was the company, CRB Media, was doing CDs. So that helped establish our brand. And it just grew and grew and grew. And as we grew, we began to get more contacts, and Palm Beach kept me busy. But Broward and Dade, they gave me the checks. You know?
So can I let me name drop a little bit, and you can tell me yes or no. Slip and Slide.
Slip and Slide.
MMG. We the Best.
We the Best.
Universal Records.
Universal Records.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the story, we had gotten so big where we needed so much equipment, and I started investing in equipment and machines to do the printing, the robotics, and so forth. So we had first got our contact, and I'll tell you, I'll mention them by name, because Daddy Fats, he was instrumental in getting me the Palm Beach layout. Mm-hmm. But the one person that was really instrumental in getting me down in Broward was Cleet. Cleet, Cleet at the time.
Shout out to Cleet.
Yeah, shout out to Cleet. Cleet put my name in down in Miami and with Khaled. I remember Fat Boy, one of these guys that Fat Boy is, I don't know his real name. We just know him by Fat Boy. He was doing a lot of street team work for a lot of the labels, Rita Bass, Po Boy, and whoever, putting street team together and getting him out. So he gave him my information, and from there he set a conversation with Khaled, and then we got our first runs with Khaled. And then started doing a lot of Khaled singles, and Khaled got his label going. And right before that, I was working with AD, Dollars and Deals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I met, and that's a very interesting story. I met AD. AD used to do the same thing I was doing at the time. He was printing and duplicating CDs. And he had the contract to do the first Plies push. Before Plies' album, he did a promotional push. That contract was for 100,000 CDs. And at the time, AD didn't have enough machines to do that kind of work. And the people that we get our machines from said that they couldn't get him a machine in time enough to complete his project. So, and they gave him my information. They said the only person that's around that could possibly help you is this guy here in Palm Beach. That's how I met AD and doing that work. And before I know it, looked up.
Wait, hold on, Claire, on that story. So 100,000 CDs?
I did 50,000 at the shop.
Oh, wow.
So what's the largest amount of CDs you have done on a project?
On a project, it's hundreds of thousands. So for you gotta look. So at one time, probably 150 for one artist at one time.
Okay.
Our last project,
150,000.
Yeah, our last project we did for Mike Smith. That was actually the last big project I did. Mike Smith put out 135,000 CDs.
Recently?
The last time that was when he first
got on Slip.
When Slip and Slide first signed him, we did 135,000 CDs for him. So that was the last push. But when I was working with Khaled and MMG and Popo, we were doing quite a bit. I mean, there was nothing for them guys to do 50 to 100,000 CDs.
So give me an idea. In 50,000 CDs, how much in hours or days?
Yeah. Well, we had built up to a level where I had purchased, at that time, I had 15 duplicators that could do 15 at one time. I had 10 robotic machines that could print, at the same time. So we were putting out anywhere, if we were hustling, I had enough staff, we were putting out anywhere from 10 to 15,000 CDs a day. Wow. And that's what, and that's the thing that made us so different than any other people in the state. We were actually, at the time, we were the largest facility that could print in that type of volume with the turnaround that was demanded. Yeah. That the artists, they put unrealistic
and I have to tell you the quality too, because you was I don't know the name of the ink, but you was printing the thermal ink directly to the disc, and I remember the quality because I think I went through someone else, and sometimes it'll peel off, or the CD, the plastic in the CD will peel off on the other side, and it'll go through, and it just the quality wasn't there. Your quality was real good, and you didn't charge for text. He didn't charge for text. It was times I didn't design. You said what's the name of the group? You put the name on it, and you would get it. There was other people would charge an additional fee for that. You didn't charge for the sleeves. They was putting it in it too. Didn't charge extra for that. Other people was charging for that. It was just so convenient, and I didn't even know you was doing scale that big, because there was a few times we went and it was like emergency. Well, this was our version of emergency. We need like 200 CDs like in 2 days, and y'all would have it like we could come the next day to get it on emergency, and sometimes late night, and you appreciate it so much. You said, wow, they care how much this is important to us just to put out 200 CDs. Meanwhile, you probably just stopping the machine real quick, man. He got a dream right here. Let's print this out real quick. Then go through. It's just so beautiful how it was ran. I always had the best service. I thought it was unbelievable because we didn't have that.
That I did. I was a disruptor. I found out what was the average cost, and I dropped it. That's what I did. When I came in the game on that hitting that the Broward and Dade area. Yeah. Because they wanted volume, but they wanted the volume at the price that made sense to them. Yeah. Okay. So I just said, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I think the going rate was like 50 cents. I said, I'm gonna do this shit with 35 cents, done. Because the way I looked at it, I invested it in the machines and equipment. So somebody told me once before, look at it this way. Tire man, at the end of the day, he got tires. Car man, at the end of the day, he got cars. I was CDs man. At the end of the day, I got CDs. So I'm putting out CDs. I'm eating, breathing, living. I'm doing CDs. So I invested money in CDs. So we would go down and we would buy pallets of CDs.
Pallets?
Yeah, pallets.
How much is on a pallet?
A pallet is, after 80,000 CDs, you really got a pallet of CDs. So, we would have pallets of CDs. We'd go buy sometimes 2, 3 pallets, of CDs. And so I not only that, and that was a whole nother, infiltrating the wholesale market was big, because I'm just some black guy coming in wanting a good price. So I had to prove that I wasn't, just somebody looking for a good deal, that I was ready to spend money. So, okay, how much is what I need to spend? Well, you need a minimum of $25,000. Okay, well, fine. What you want that? What you want, check money or cash? Why you want it? So that's what we were doing. We were sort of impacting in a way where we were having the people, the wholesalers, force and say, we want your business. So it wasn't just one place I can go. I learned that there were 6 different wholesalers down in Miami, and everybody wanted my business because I was considered a no-nonsense type person. If you wasn't giving the price, I appreciate it, but I'll see you. Thank you. Oh, no. You already said you couldn't meet it. That's fine. And I've learned that everybody couldn't meet your price on every different product, but they could. I never burned a bridge, but I kept that bridge open just because there's times that your supplier may not have that product. So you keep that, that source, available and in good standing. So I never burn a source. And I learned that everybody, just because they can give you a good price on CDs, they can't give you a good price on packaging, or a certain brand. So I learned all the ins and outs of the Miami wholesale market, when it came to supplies. And that's how come I was able to put supplies down there, so whether I was selling supplies or doing the project, I was making money. And the way I looked at it, that, and I had people that someone say, well, you're not scared to, they're going to learn this and, take your business. I said, it don't matter. If they're buying supplies or I'm doing it, I still get a piece of whatever you're doing.
Right. Because you're right. Because I got 3 duplicators at the house, but I still got to come back to you every time for CD. CD. So
it didn't matter. So it didn't matter to me. You were doing your own stuff. Okay, if you buy the supplies, I'm happy. So whatever that price that profit margin is, that's mine. Right. Whether it's
Clarence, to be honest with you, even with the duplicator, ain't no one trying to get to the rack, take the CD out, sleeve it, put the next set of 8 or 6 in. It still works.
Especially at the speed. Speed.
You still would. The efficiency was amazing.
We had a staff, mainly family, but we had a staff. At one point, we were up to about 8 people that worked at that place. That we were at.
Wow.
And all of which was family, all but Red. Red is the mascot.
Red. Oh, he was always at the door. There you go. He was he was storytelling up there.
Red was. I just befriended Red, and Red he's a cat that won't stop coming around.
I like him, man.
Amazing
guy.
He
made the spot what it was, man.
Amazing guy. But the way it came for me doing CDs, it was never on the agenda. It just I just stumbled into it. The guys just asked me if I could do it. Okay, well, fine. And that became the pivotal point of our business. CRB is mainly developed from CDs.
And at that time, I guess the CDs would be your main source of income, although you had the computers, you had the flyers, you did everything else, T-shirt design. I feel like you could call Clarence for anything, man.
Yeah. You could have. You ever thought about in those times, like actually doing a label?
I like my son, he started rapping. So I seen it. It was very challenging, I felt like, and I bought him all the equipment for the studio. And that was just challenging. It was just too, it was a different side of the brain.
Yeah.
Couldn't focus on it. And at the time, and to be honest with you too, I didn't want to be around that type of crowd.
I feel you.
And it's not to speak to, because it's hard to speak plainly. The rap community, all those, there's some fake rappers that's spitting lyrics. There's some actual rappers out there that's living that life.
Right.
And I just didn't want to be mixed up in, trying to figure out.
Right, that opens a whole nother gate.
Do you really got a ooze in there?
Right. Right. You're gonna open up a whole
and people running up in and out of your spot.
How much drugs do you really got to put?
Yeah.
And my lifestyle had changed, and I didn't really want to be, being up in it. I wanted to be a part of it, but not with a boundary. And I knew what type of crowd that would draw, that would have to be in close proximity with me on a regular basis or in the shop.
I know we I'm stepping back to the computer part because we got the other story of like your can I say psychological knowledge?
Okay.
Did you, when you start working on computers, because you can build a computer as well.
Right.
Did you ever started connecting the mechanics of the computer and how the mind operated?
Well, yes, because the mind and the computer are much alike. The processor. When you start looking at the processor, processor really is the computer portion of how you basically compute information, your thought process. Hard drive is a storage, so your memory bank. What you're actually retaining, information and knowledge you're retaining, and I think that has a lot to do with the way we develop and hoard information. What becomes more important to us versus what's not. When you begin to store information that is unhealthy for you, too much information that is unhealthy for you can be harmful. However, not having that information is also harmful.
Correct.
So where's the balance is, and it's not bad to have it, right? But when you use it in a way that's challenging in terms of reacting sporadically without thinking about consequences of what's next for you in life, who does it affect, how does it affect me or the other person, then it becomes something that is just it's so irrational. But it's good to know, so when I'm challenged with it or see it around me, I know that this is unhealthy for me. This is not something I want to deal with. So having it is good, storing it is good, but also knowing and storing much information that's healthy and helpful for you, not just for you, but the people that are around you. So in terms of your family, so I have 7 kids, and I've tried to be a better person in terms of the way I early on things that I've learned and have sort of hoarded the information that I know. I've tried to not show them that side of me. They don't know that side. All they've heard is different stories, but they've never seen their dad in jail. They've never experienced, the dad on drugs or even drinking. My oldest is 36. At the time I was she 30 or 36. She don't have any memory of me drinking. I was sober by the time she was 3 or 4 years old. When she was 4, I was getting sober. She don't have any memory of me drinking. She don't have any memory of me smoking. So that side of me that I don't want them to experience, I've tried to be a better person to them. I've given them that knowledge and information, those roadblocks and stumbling blocks that you're going to face in life. Don't make the same mistakes that Daddy made. Well, Daddy, you ain't made no mistakes. Well, no, your daddy's made some bigger mistakes. I got a son that think that Daddy's just green. Yeah, Daddy green.
That's a good one.
Have you built any gaming computers?
Oh yeah, I mean computers. You know what? Computer came during that 99, 2000, building computers. 99, 2000, it was just a boom. And I was able to take advantage of that during that time. Building computers was amazing. I mean, it was something new. It was just phenomenal, man. It was just great to be able to build a computer. That I did that, and to be something of so significant and so important. I think it was great, and that was great for a while. But then we had laptops. Laptops came around, and that sort of knocked computers out of the game.
Yeah.
And then now with phones, I mean, nobody wants a home computer.
And iPads.
Are you into the phone game?
Say again?
Are you into the phone?
No, it's something I never several things I didn't transition to. I thought about it, and I didn't. I guess that's one of the regrets I have is I didn't transition when I seen the curve.
Right, I was gonna ask you.
I seen the CD curve, so when I was trying to get an actual time and date where things had started sort of derailing, I think 2015. From 15 to 17, the curve was happening on the downward spiral, and we seen it in the wholesale market too, but it was really happening with the artists because by then the QRC codes were out, and people started looking at that, and printing the QRC code on the flyer, handing it out, along with social media was starting to pop real good. So
Spotify.
CDs had sort of began to diminish.
Yeah,
I think it was MP3 players that started hurting.
MP3 players was another thing. The iPod and so forth.
Thumb drives.
So things that music has started to change. I think I'm running. I used to do a lot of before things were diminishing. I was really printing a lot for MMG. Shout out to Lex Promotion. He's an amazing guy. Lex Promotion. He was keeping me busy, and he said, "Man, you're one of the biggest payouts in my checkbook." Because I'm printing for the whole label. All this, everybody on the label from Ross to Meek Mill to Gunplay, and the whole label, MMG whole label. I'm getting all.
Shout out to Bel Air.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Vion.
Yeah, I'm getting their whole work, and but when I seen that curve happening because he was starting to print less and less and less. He went from printing tens and 20,000 CDs to 5,000, 1,000 to 500. To the point where now I got none.
I think the change for me when it came for CDs is if there was a CD player not in the car, that's
where
I
been
think
most
it's
recent. In the last 5 years.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, they've taken CD players out of the car. But I'm still doing CDs, and I'll say this much about CDs.
Okay.
Even though for some people think this, I wouldn't be caught if I'm an artist. I still wouldn't be caught without a CD. That's if you're going from town to town. If you're if you're still doing shows from town to town, it's a business card if nothing else. It's got your information on it. I'm still printing CDs because it's still lucrative.
I mean, I go to Haiti frequently. You know what I mean, and CDs is still king.
They still
they still got the CD. They
CD.
listen to radio a lot. But they still love a CD, man. They value CDs still.
It's something it's that physical, tangible thing that they've gotten from an artist.
I still think the quality.
I would say 50 CDs. If you take 10 to an event, at least you got them. For whoever, whatever. I would say keep. Don't throw it away altogether.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be around until there's a total shift, and it has to happen across the world, because as long as we have countries that are not acclimated to Wi-Fi, in every area. If you go to somebody's house, where you say, you got what? Where's the Wi-Fi password? Every household we got Wi-Fi. That's not the case in a lot of these countries. They're still getting out with physical CDs. So, where until there's Wi-Fi everywhere and people can enjoy streaming readily and available, CDs are not going anywhere. There's going to always be a market where there's CDs. There's going to be always somewhere that you may need to have a CD, or it may be good to have it even if you don't. Because, if you're, despite what you may think about yourself, once you leave from me and you telling me to look you up on Facebook and IG and this, that, and that's all these links. I'll be like, okay, all right. And within 10, 20 minutes, walking away, I'll be like, damn, what did I say?
Don't even remember.
I don't even. But if you got to something physical, if not, card or whatever, but you need something tangible. It's just me still having a heart for CDs, and I don't think that's going to ever go away. But I still think it's still something that artists should consider. To have. You got to go crazy with it, but it's still something I think it's important to have in your, at least, in your arsenal of your material.
Yeah. No, I still got. I always do a small run. I feel like it's just important, man. And what's funny, as much as streaming has taken over, I still get caught in certain places. To your point, or someone, man, you ain't gonna give me a mixtape like that. That's what they want. I'm like, but it's you can go listen on, But they're like, no, man, I missed the mixtape. Like somebody still wants a mix CD. I used to do a lot of collages with DJs. And that was very popular, and I still got people asking me for that. Kind of inspired me to want to do a new mixtape and have those handy.
Yeah, and I'm hearing people, even with people like this, because of the CD game has been diminished. A lot of artists are not making money anymore, and that's the reality of it.
That was that real deal.
Know it.
Direct.
Because I hear people are not getting money on streaming.
No, it's very hard. It's pennies. I think I shared with the boys in the section.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest records. Surprisingly, the numbers are phenomenal. You look and say, man, it's made the most money. Although I recorded it in 2012, I put it out in 2022. This particular song. Okay. And it's my number one streaming record today.
Right. Wow.
So it's just and Eric like, what did you do? I'm like, just put it out. To that point, I'm constantly dropping music.
Right.
But you look at the dollar amount and I'm like, man, it would have looked better if it was 4 times the amount though. Right. It's a lot harder.
So I think CDs, because what's happening in our technology, has taken away money from your average artist. That is, I'm sorry, Rick Ross and all these other names, household names that everybody won't be that. I'm sorry, and it has nothing to do with your ability. It's just the way the world works. There's not going to be but so many Bill Gates and Warren Buffetts.
The price of CDs were what, $9-10, right? In a store.
Yeah, in the store.
I mean,
it used to be like 18 in the beginning.
Wait, what?
Circuit City, going back to Circuit City.
No. What?
Yeah,
Circuit City days.
I bought a BG album for like $18 or $19.99.
I bought a 3 6 Mafia album for like $18.
I thought it didn't go past $12.
That's on the back lower days.
I'm talking when they first.
And it first came out,
it had the plastic thing around it, like you could carry it. It was up. It used to be up there.
Yeah. And just like tech, tech is, I am just saying, tech is its own worst enemy. Technology, we've teched our way out of jobs, and it adds an extra convenience, but in adding that convenience, what have you taken away? Sure, you may be able to do things easier, but it sure was better when I could just, do this, that, and other, or I had a job. Look at, although it's a pain going through, it's much better going through the turnpike now where you got no, but what about all them jobs that they took and taking all them tolls away from the turnpike?
Yeah.
And I'm just using that example, but, it's great to have technology, but you're losing jobs along the way.
Self-checkouts taking over.
Self-checkout. A lot.
Somebody lost some jobs.
But on the flip end, you got people who don't want to come to work too.
Yeah.
On the flip end.
I feel like they also slowing things down. I have friends that work like on the corporate side of things. And there's software that can do a lot of the counting. Right. You kind of don't need a human to be typing and pressing buttons at this point, but for the sake of it's taking care of so many people, putting kids through colleges and things like that, to go buy a program that could run all your accounting affairs and other back end stuff that humans are doing. It's like now we kind of have to slow, like fake some of the steps and just keep it there for the sake of people having jobs. But then now on the other end, we seeing a lot of inconveniences because you realizing, wait, if I want to go get this done, I got to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 steps and wait for the process just for an example to get a job. Right, you have to go through so many, even they could say you hired, but you got to go through so many other steps that it's like, all right, technology could solve that, but you got a lot of people would be out of jobs if we allowed technology to step in and save our convenience. Yeah. So it's a uncomfortable time in that regards, thinking of it that way.
But I really think it's affected music in a very negative way. You know, for the smaller artists. You know, for the smaller artists, is trying to get up their money, bring up their bag, because I know, over the years I've always admired artists that the monies that they spend, but I know they find ways to get it back. And one of those ways were just getting that, out there doing their CD hustle, getting that CD hustle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't free. Some people were giving, the majority of CDs away, but you put 1,000 CDs, I can get $5 a piece. That's $5,000, man.
And Clarence giving it to you for 50 cents. You making a $9.50 profit. I used to be like, I said, we made $200. We could get the other 100 away. We don't care.
Yeah. So I think in that regards is that it's taking a lot of money away from the artists, from that developing artist. If you got a deal, and that's a whole different subject matter too, of how they done rob people on these deals and so forth. But ain't no more promotion checks. You got to be done your own promotion, your footwork.
So when you really think about some of the numbers you just shared with us, and you think about some of us locally, what we were doing, we were barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
If you think about 150,000 CDs and you do a 500 run, I mean, it's good you're doing something, but man.
They was flooding the streets.
A lot of these guys were doing, even I've got some great numbers, but it was the consistency of guys coming back. I had guys doing 100 a day. In a matter of a week, they've done, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 CDs a week. And then when you start looking at it that way, their numbers are up. Yeah. I had one guy say, I had one of the guys in Fort Lauderdale, another company, because the guy went to him to do CD. I said, well, you give him that price. He said, but I said, man, I'm telling you, this guy's gonna print like crazy. So I give him the price that I would print if he were doing 1,000, because this guy is printing well over, 5,000 a month. Mm-hmm. He's printing 5,000 CDs a month.
An indie artist?
Local artist. He's printing 5,000 CDs a month, and this guy's still printing. Even today, I got a guy that's printing, almost 2,000 CDs a month. I got a guy right now
that's awesome.
2,000 CDs a month. Man, and it's to the point where, because I'm not purchasing CDs like that anymore.
Right.
So I find myself, damn, I got to go get CDs.
I feel like the last conversation, I remember you saying something, you referenced something like that.
I was like, damn, I got to go get these CDs, man. I got to get this order done. But CDs, I think they're going to still be a part of our life, to the point where, it's collectible, like they're doing with that, with the LPs now, So, but all in all, I appreciate having been a part of, West, it's Palm Beach, Broward and Dade, and even across, I did CDs all over Florida and even out of the state. But mainly, big ups to Tri-County area. If it wasn't for, Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade, I wouldn't have survived so long. And I just thank God of how people that, I didn't know, just, that in many cases took me under their wing and just gave me the business, and some of the labels, mainly, most of everybody paid their bills and so forth. But for the most part, I didn't have any problems with people with paying and maintaining their, their commitment to paying us on time.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
I made a lot of money doing it, and I did a lot of good things. I don't have all that money anymore, but we did make a lot of money. But running a business of certain magnitude is, you spend a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And I just think it was great. I mean, being a part of this community, I do. I do, and even now, if anybody need anything else going on as far as CDs or any type of print material, I would just hope that they would still look us up.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still sending people to absolutely.
One by one. It doesn't matter. I sure appreciate the business. We're not where we were. We're at nowhere near the, levels of doing jobs like we used to be, but, it's still something that we offer. Website is, I'm not a social media guy. I'm on there, but, I don't really do the social media aspect, and that was another regret that I didn't sort of acclimate to. Being able to know how to navigate the social media and promote. But,
You're still young, Clarence. Whenever you need it, we got you. Yeah. Like you said, you're still young. Yeah. We can make it happen. You already know you can call me. You already know that.
Believe it or not, I still think you got a leg in the game. Like, it's another curve, but it can definitely get it done.
It ain't Fat Lady ain't sung yet.
All right, so now, Clint, we want to play a little game. It's a rapid fire question, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and there's two options. So you just choose the one that you would like the best out of as far as your response is concerned. All right, so it's called Exposure Trivia. Okay. I'm gonna shoot off. Let's see what we get off at. All right. So first one: work or play?
Work or play?
Mm-hmm.
Work.
Love or friendship?
I think love.
Money or happiness?
Happiness.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Summer or winter?
Oh, summer.
Definitely a Florida boy.
Summer. You're a Florida boy. All right. Morning or evening?
I'm an evening guy.
All right. Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
One episode at a time or binge the whole season?
I'm a binger.
I love it. Shower at night or in the morning?
At night.
Rather fly or super strength?
Fly or what?
Super strength.
Fly or super strength?
Yeah, having a superpower.
Oh, okay. I'd rather fly.
All right. Find your dream job or win the lottery?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good
tough.
one. That's a really good one.
I would say find my dream job.
All right. And last one, introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
All right. Yeah. That's it. That's some good stuff right there, man. Yeah. But man, you done dropped a lot on us, man. I kind of just came in thinking CRB, duplication, and all the hustles you have, and we learned a whole lot from the counseling into the backstory and what got you here today. That's an amazing story, and I really do appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable with us and giving us some insight.
Right.
Yeah.
I would definitely come to a class before anything will ever happen. I would be there. And I think, like Eric said, that'd be something dope to have in our community.
Yeah, I would love. I've always wanted to be a part of something that had nothing to do with something punitive.
Punitive. What that word mean? Punitive.
I want to know exactly. I heard how you said it, but what exactly does it mean?
Consequence.
Oh.
Punitive is consequence.
Okay.
So a lot of things happen. You want to get it before it happens. Mm-hmm. So the only reason that you're doing this because it's punitive.
Yeah.
You're in punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the only reason you're changing and being open for information because it's punishment. I always say consequence only takes you but so far, right? So when you're doing things based on consequence, there's no real motive behind it, and in many cases, there's no sincerity because the consequence, it's a direction. However, it's not a motivator. It doesn't motivate you to change. What motivates you to change is character. Who you are is the motivation behind. Because at some point, consequence, I don't give a fuck who you call. Bitch, I'll fuck you up. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I already know the consequence.
Facts.
Yeah,
You know where it's
facts.
going.
Yeah.
Facts.
So
Facts.
consequence is not really a foundation for change. Character is.
That was a gem of the day too.
Yeah,
I was
that's
gonna
a
we
huge
usually
gem.
ask to give advice, to your younger self or
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
coming up. But that's an awesome gem of the day.
Yeah, I mean, consequence won't take you but so far. You know, it gives you some restraint. Yes, it does. But if your belief system overrides your consequence, then consequence is out the window. You want to call the police? I'll call them for you. 911. Shit, give me the phone. Beat your ass before they get here.
That sound like a TikTok voiceover.
It just might go on there. Lord.
Yeah.
Oh man,
It's crazy you say that. We spoke on it on the last episode. Again, the question was, where have you learned being an adult at this age? And I said patience. So that being patient means a lot. So
Yeah, change has to become who you are.
correct.
So it's that concept, you can't see the forest because of the trees. So as you begin to walk and change, it becomes absorbent of who you are. So at what point you change into one person into another is a portion of your character. So I don't do it because that's not who I am. That's not what I believe. You know, I don't know at what point it changed because change is ongoing. So change when it comes to human behavior is never permanent. It's situational. But it's also conducive to what your belief system and how it lines up in every scenario. So if I'm dealing with you in the public shopping center, if I'm dealing with you at the red light or at home, is it lining up with my core values? So it doesn't matter where I'm at in my life, is that if change is who I am, it doesn't matter what the situation is and where I'm in, what type of environment, I'm going to respond based on my core value of who I am in that moment, and it doesn't matter what the situation is. If there's another alternative that is helpful to me and helpful to you, then that's the alternative I want to do. So, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, you gotta be able to understand that and motivate yourself, not just through consequence, but through the value of who you really want to be in your life. You know?
And Mr. C, for all the viewers out there that want to get at you, CRB Media Plus on Google. It'll take them to Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, that or crbprinting.com.
Okay.
That's actually the website, crbprinting.com.
Okay.
So, or, you know, if you look up CRB Media Plus, it's going to send you some type of information. But we've actually changed the name to CRB Printing and More.
Okay.
Yeah, CRB Printing and More. You can find us. I think that's our Instagram, but I know that the website is crbprinting.com.
So we're gonna go ahead and put that on the bottom of the screen and link in the bio for our
CRB
people
printing,
watching on YouTube.
Yeah, crbprinting.com.
Okay.
And you can look at the products and services that we have. Phone numbers on there. But yeah, I prefer that you reach out to me. Social media DMs, I still don't quite understand what a DM is. I don't know. And quite frankly, if you DM me, my wife may get it, so I don't know what the DM going to do in terms of my relationship. Please don't DM me, okay?
Oh, man. Oh, no.
He said DMs closed.
Oh, no, that's hilarious.
You can call me
yeah.
or text me.
There you go. There you go.
Or text me.
And I just want to say thank you for, your contribution to, I mean, I'm going to say the region, man. Since I've met you, whether I needed memory on my computer, whether I need dimensions on the flyer, meeting me halfway in Lake Worth for the CDs, without an easy, or it's like, don't worry, I'll meet you in Lake Worth, meeting up in our usual spot, and just your insight, man. You're always giving knowledge, and you don't charge for that. I feel like you should have a consultant fee just for explaining and helping others. It's not about getting over on somebody. You always did it. Be like, what you trying to do, fat boy? I know that talk. Like, what you trying to do? All right, so if I was you, this is how I would approach it. And you've always been that, and I know you affected so many of us, and even Eric and Drego's getting to know you. He was a producer, and so he wasn't on the artist side. But thank you. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. We appreciate you, and just continue doing what you're doing. Exposure. We're here for you whenever you want to come out again and talk about updates on counseling or your new venture. Please reach back out. We're here for you.
All right. Well,
yes, sir.
They gave us our little mini counseling. That was good to take in. I like that.
Yeah. Got some salts.
Yes.
I want to highlight is on camera too, how important what you brought to the community, especially to the young men who, if it wasn't for your distribution for us to express ourselves and distribute music out, it could have been so many other things. And I've seen myself peers that was in situations where they could have been releasing their frustrations in negative ways, but instead, due to your platform for us to have a place to go and get what we need and go out, they spend their time and their days doing this and not getting in trouble, and even down to law enforcement recognizing it and seeing that, hey, these kids are out here, they just sharing their music. They doing things so many of us could have gotten in so much other trouble. And if you take that away, it was gonna be a whole nother other scene that wouldn't have really benefited us. So we felt all of us shift together in unison, because us as peers and just knowing each other, everybody knew where they was getting their CDs from. Everybody, we kind of followed suit. And looking back, I can see how much that was important, and it saved us. And many times it wasn't even about the money or anything else as we needed. You expressed it there. You still got people just giving out, still doing CDs, thousands a month, and it becomes something very, very therapeutic to just, you get the CDs, you open the box, you looking at it, it's a moment, it's a memory that we'll never forget. So I extremely thank you for what you built. I don't know if you know, you didn't even predict doing CDs, but it was meant for you to do it. It was very important. I promise it saved lives. It changed impressions, directions on what a lot of us would have been doing and needed to do in alternation. And once you gave us the background of the other stuff you knew about and did and continue to do, I'm like, man, that makes sense. I ain't even know that part. Yeah. And I kind of a little bit pre-rehearsed what I was gonna say, but now I really know it makes sense. I'm like, oh, this is a very special person for us.
Blessing.
More important than I think we may have a plaque or anything to give, or a statue, or a billboard to say. We don't at this moment don't have that voice to really champion those in a large way who help guide us in how we are turning out and directing ourselves. But you definitely played an important role, and I'm happy to just be here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, again, I feel like, I took in a message and sat down. Of course, you gave us some mini counseling. I think that we all deserve, not just us, but everyone, actually, because everyone go through those situations. I think that was well said. I like that. Yeah.
And also give a shout out to Bel Air and Vion, Exposure's official drink of choice. No matter what the convenience, no matter what you got going on, drink up. Y'all tuned into another episode of Exposure, and we have Mr. C, aka Clarence, aka CRB Media Plus, and we are.
It's more than just a podcast. It's exposure.